Thank you very much. My name is Jonathan Osei Owusu, and I bring you greetings from Ghana, West Africa to be precise, and from the members of my team from Paul's Foundation in Ghana. Today, I will be walking you through some of the work of Paul's Foundation and why we also had to pitch this project on the Paris Peace Forum. The topic I'm addressing this particular morning is the Justice for All program and emergency COVID relief program, which the Paul's Foundation have been handling over the years. Within this slide, we'll be looking at the Justice for All program. Yes, we'll be looking at the Justice for All program, and we'll be looking at the Justice for All program and its impact in our country as it stands at the moment. The Justice for All program, in terms of the presentation outline, we'll be looking at what we mean by the Justice for All program, the JFAP virtual court setting. We are looking at other intervention, and then we will dive straight into the emergency COVID-19 prison relief program. Then we will look at some conclusion in the course of our presentation. It will interest you to know that when it comes to criminal justice administration in the SAP region, Ghana is admired by many other countries. Nevertheless, we also have some kind of challenges that we are trying to systematically address that do not promote speedy and fair trial for prisoners and the poor and vulnerable. Some of these challenges that we face within our criminal justice system includes long pre-trial detention, a lack of adequate legal education and representation. We talk about ineffective use of paralegals, and the crack of it is because we adopted the constitution from the constitution from the from developed countries. We also have administrative policy and legislative loopholes as a challenge to deal with, and then we can also look at the overcrowding. Looking at some of these things, the overcrowding situation, as we talked about, is in the picture what you see, and this we always say impedes effective justice delivery and renders elusive the goals of providing adequate, speedy, and fair trial to our people. I'm just trying to give a picture of the overcrowding situation in our country. And these are some statistics from Ghana Prison Service. When you look at the authorized capacity of the biggest prisons in Ghana, which is the first one called the Nsawam prisons, it has the authorized capacity of 851, but currently is hosting 2,970. Again, when you look at the second biggest prisons in our country, which is the Kumasi Central Prisons, its authorized capacity is 416, and it's also currently holding 1,867. That is to run through the statistics provided by Ghana Prison Service to let you understand the nature of overcrowding in our country, which does not augur well for a democratic country of ours that prides itself when it comes to the rule of law and then respect for human rights. Over the years, I must say that both government, civil society, and all other stakeholders have come up with systemic, programmatic interventions to resolve these challenges that I've mentioned earlier. It must interest you to know that in these areas are 4 categories. 1, blocking legislative, administrative, and policy loopholes. That is when it comes to the law. 2, technologically, we are introducing technology into the system. 3, there are programmatic interventions that have been introduced, which I'm going to draw my presentation on, called the Justice for All program that deals with remand prisoners. Now the crack begins, of the presentation begins. The Justice for All program is a state-led intervention which seeks to provide access to justice for pre-trial detainees, where we call remand prisoners, in effort to decongest our overcrowded prisons by setting up mobile special court settings in prison to adjudicate remand cases. So we've been very successful over the years, which the program was introduced in 2007, where the congestion was at its peak. And for that matter, the state, together with civil society, introduced this program in 2007. Pulse Foundation served as facilitators of the program in terms of the day-to-day operations of the program, together with the provision of paralegals and lawyers who goes to the prisons, conduct interviews, and prepare applications, that is both affidavit and motions, and file them before the courts. And at the end of the day, the court sits in prison, adjudicate cases, and sometimes you may have 2 courts sitting simultaneously, as you can see on the screen. And then the lawyers will also move the application and see how many people can be released either on bail or for discharge. And I must say that sometimes you may have 3 courts sitting simultaneously that we have to be coordinating and running around to make sure that if we file the case for about 100 inmates, we always have been successful getting about 60%, 70% above of such numbers going home on bail or discharge. Let me give you some statistics when it comes to the Justice for All. Since its inception, what has been the benefit or the results to the many people we deal with who there are statistics from the criminal justice infographics. You will realize that about over 90% of the people we are dealing with who are on pre-trial in prison are people who do not have the financial muscle to hire the services of a lawyer. And that is the beauty of this program, because it is the state and civil society that collaborate, so you don't pay anything as an indigent or a poor person or marginalized person in the prison. When you look at the statistics so far, the 33% overcrowding, and 33% was the remand percentage in terms of the project when it started in 2007, with an overcrowding rate of 72.41. And you can see that during 2007, the congestion was very, very high. As at September 2020, we had reduced the remand ratio or remand population percentage from 33% to 12.34%, and with overcrowding rate currently as 34.5%, a very drastic reduction from 33% in 2007 to 12% in 2020. When you look at the male to female ratio in terms of prisoner, we have 87:1. That means we have very few female inmates in custody. And per the statistics of overcrowding I gave you in the above slide, you will realize that the female original capacity is somewhere around 200, but they are holding 73 inmates. So the below is the current situation of remand inmates and the total prison population of Ghana. I will also want to mention and give an example that when you look at those who have benefited from the program since its inception, there is a man, a 72-year-old man called Kwejo Obing, and then another 65-year-old man called Zoro Kuta, both charged with assault and the other murder respectively. It will interest you to know that Kwejo Obing had to spend 9 years on remand, that is pre-trial, and went to court 2 times. So someone may call it he was locked and forgotten, left to rot. In any case, when you look at the court sitting that day in prison, the man was so much excited when he was relieved he was discharged by the court. Zero Kuta had spent close to 20 years or over 20 years because his docket could not even be traced. And so we put pieces of event together and realized that Zero Kuta had been on remand or pre-trial detention for over 20 years, something that is not acceptable. And so we were trying to set up this court to adjudicate such cases for others who will not have the financial capacity to get the lawyers to have their freedom because they may not have committed the crime, particularly having stayed there for a longer time without prosecution moving their case. One aspect of this project that we run that must be clear is the introduction of technology, where with COVID, we have seen the software giving the pictures of inmates on application for verification. And so Pulse Foundation introduced technology where you go to the prisons, interview inmates, and at the end of the day, there is a software that generates a template sort of application to ease the stress and save time as well as resources in dealing with a lot of people on remand when we do our conferencing and interviews with them. Again, when it comes to the virtual court setting, we realize that this program has been very, very successful. But when it gets to COVID, or when COVID set in, we were unable to go to the prisons, and this posed a serious threat. And so activities had to be put on hold. Nevertheless, the Pulse Foundation mooted for a virtual court setting and was approved by the Judicial Service that coordinates the project. And consequently, the virtual court setting is ongoing. And so we will be sitting in Accra. The Pulse Foundation will go to the prisons with its stakeholders and then we have all the gadgets available to have a virtual court hearing, which currently is ongoing, to look at further reducing the remand population so that the COVID do not become a stumbling block in the way of reducing the remand population from 33% in 2007 to a single digit in some few years or months to come. The Justice for All continue to sit to ensure access to justice, fair and speedy trial for the marginalized in our society. This is the virtual court setting. And you can see at the Judicial Service. Complementing the special court setting is the in-prison paralegal project. People came with the program Justice for All came under serious criticism by prisoners that we are dealing with only pre-trial detainees. What about convict prisoners who may have received miscarriage of justice? Therefore, through a program that we gathered from Kenya, in prisons, that was the prisons project, we turned ours to be the in-prison paralegal project, where we train inmates and officers as paralegals to help people to join the process in terms of getting their cases being heard, so that if they have received a miscarriage of justice, they can move ahead to get their cases heard. And this is a woman who was sentenced to 11 years in prison, Amafosin, for narcotics charges. And if you look at the records of proceedings, you could realize that there was a complete miscarriage of justice. So out of the in-prison paralegal project, her case was pushed before the court on appeal, and the court heard the case. At the end of the day, this woman was acquitted and discharged. A very poor woman, 65-year-old woman, and now he is out enjoying her freedom, that has her own serious challenges because of spending 4.5 years in custody without having the financial muscle to get somebody to run appeal for this woman. So this is the in-prison paralegal project that led to the release of this woman. And in fact, when you look at the records of proceedings, the woman who had 2 witnesses testifying against her, which were both police. And there's a poor woman staying in an uncompleted building at a developing site. She said, the police said, the prosecutors and investigators said they saw a bag and a wine bottle with alcoholic drink with some leaves purported to be Indian hemp, 100 meters away from her building. Yet she was convicted and sentenced to 11 years. And when we did the appeal through the in-prison paralegal program, she was acquitted and discharged. What an unfortunate situation for her to have spent 4.5 years on remand. Alternatives that have come up during COVID, apart from the virtual court setting that is making us pitch this project, we have also, in the midst of COVID, come up with legislative and policy loopholes solutions. So the programmatic intervention is the Justice for All in-prison paralegal project, which we did the pilot with the USAID. But the Justice for All program is being sponsored by the OSF and OSIWA. And as we're talking with you, they are the same people funding the alternative sentencing regime. We are happy to announce to many people that community service, which do not exist in our criminal code, as they may say, as Criminal Offences and Other Procedure Act, we, the Pulse Foundation, together with the Ministry of Interior, under the direct supervision of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, have gotten the bill drafted, and it's currently before Cabinet for consideration, and so soon it will come to help take people out of, cut the flow of people going to prison in terms of committing misdemeanors and minor offenses. Just last week, as you see in the picture, the parole legislation was also discussed with Ghana Prison Service. That is, we need a constitutional instrument regulation to activate parole. These 2 legislation have not been activated in Ghana and it's not functioning. But because of COVID, government have also been so proactive and have partnered with us and other stakeholders to speed up the process so that the prisons that seems to be congested do not go in, do not continue in that breadth. We can also look at one remarkable achievement that civil society in partnership with other stakeholders like the West African Drug Policy Network, Pulse Foundation have done, that is getting the drug law passed to replace the PNDC law 236. And currently we have the new Narcotics Control Commission law 2020. It was passed on March 20th, 2020. And you will know that that was the beginning where COVID had hit the country. And so this is seeking to address drug use as a public health and human rights matter rather than it being criminal. So you can see all these interventions are geared towards cutting the inflow of minor offenders into prison, as well declassifying and decriminalizing some petty offenses to be able to deal with congestion in our country, or our country's prisons. In terms of the drug policy, it wasn't an easy thing. But civil society like Pulse Foundation and Drug Policy, West African Drug Policy Network, brought Professor Calvin Hart from the US, and to your surprise, this worked for us because it opened way for discussions, and we have a new bill that treats drug use as a public health issue. In terms of the COVID relief, I must say that GIZ, German Corporation, and Open Society gave support for us to go to prisons, educated Ghana Prison Service inmates and officers, as you can see, and donated a lot of PPEs or protective equipment to foster, to facilitate the work they were doing to prevent COVID from entering the prisons. This is critical, and I'm stating emphatically for listeners that everybody must note that COVID came all over the world. Irrespective of our congested prisons, COVID has not been recorded, not a single case has been recorded in our prisons. And that is as a result of the professionalism the Ghana Prison Service brought to bear, the support from Paul's Foundation and the government, as well as other stakeholders that have contributed to recording no COVID case in our prisons, because if we should get there, controlling this will be problematic. And we will later discuss, or when you watch the video, you will know how the measures were put in place to curtail this success, this problem, and achieve this success up to date. So this, after we continue with a virtual court, a virtual conference, which was internationally acknowledged and had all the people all over the world, including Ghana, as you can see, handling this particular matter. In conclusion, justice for all for reducing remand percentage from 33% to 12%. We say that, and we together with the emergency COVID relief project, is what we want to do virtually to sustain the program and also ensure that the vulnerable get this program, benefit so much from this program. And in conclusion, I will say that in order to decongest Africans' overcrowded prisons, I would want to say that justice for all, which seeks to be solving the dilemma between crime control and due process, is a model to be considered for Africa's prison decongestion. I want to end here and say that if Ghana's population has been reduced from 33% to 12%, Nigeria's overcrowding rate of somewhere around 70% for remand, and Kenya somewhere around 48% the last time I checked, can all benefit from this program. And in fact, most of these countries have come to understudy the program, and they are trying to do the same in their country. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm taking some questions from some who are participating with us, and one is asking, are we planning to implicate justice for all virtual court too in other African countries? Yes, like I rightly said, our brothers from Kenya and other countries came to understudy the program, and they called theirs All for Justice, whilst Ghana's own is called Justice for All. So we are also in touch with them to get the virtual one also replicated to reduce their remand population in their country. Are you planning to implement justice for all in other jurisdictions? And that, I think, is the same question that probably I have answered. Have prisoners faced any challenges getting access to your tool? In terms of access, it is a state-led project. So we are able to reach the prisoners and then listen to every remand prisoner and find out who qualifies to benefit from the program, because it's not everybody that will qualify, but at least 80% of the people do qualify this. At the end of this, there is a video that we will entreat everybody to go and watch and see the work that has been done. I think I have another question. Others are looking at still how we can help other African countries to still be able to do this same thing that we are doing in their country. So as I wait for the other questions, I would want you to know that for justice for all, if you're looking for other best practices in other jurisdictions, we must say that we can consider justice for all as a tool for this cause to decongest our prisons and help in giving voices to the vulnerable in prison. In terms of our human rights record, we were indicted by the Special Rapporteur on Torture, Cruel, and Inhumane Treatment, the UN Special Rapporteur, some 5 years ago, that our prisons were not good. But to the situation as it stands now, at least during the UPR by the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Ghana came out of, was praised for coming up with such an initiative to decongest the prisons in our country. In terms of something that I want to end with my presentation, I would want to bring to the attention of many who are watching us that when we talk about COVID and the work we do and frontline workers, please, we have different definition of who a frontline worker is. In my candidate opinion and view, we always say that the health workers are frontline workers, but they may be classified as health frontline workers because after going through the prisons from the south to the north all the way to the border, somewhere around Burkina Faso, in Ghana here, we came back and we, in terms of I said myself and a member of my team also tested positive for COVID-19, which was a bit of a challenge to us because we had to go through the struggle and we had to isolate and etc. So I wondered and posed the question, who then is a frontline worker? Because when there is a lockdown, we human rights NGOs and advocates are going out because we are better than those in prisons. And we are better placed, than those in prison. So we go out with relief items and etc. And in the process, we sleep at hotels. You are mingling one way or the other with people. So wherever we got the COVID in our system, we do not even know. That was when I realized that the work we do can also be considered as frontline workers. But hey, to all of you listening, we are doing well. We've recovered for 3 months now, and we are back on the road, still working and following all the necessary protocols that needed to have been followed. So COVID have come, we're managing it, and if we are able to take good care of ourselves, we will be able to overcome it. But the good news is that Ghana stands tall among many other countries not to have recorded any single case in our prisons. And that is something that we are still trying to safeguard and protect. So we are the Justice for All program. There is a question. It's still ongoing. The virtual one we are setting because somebody may have been there. There are no protocols that do not take people to prison or bring them out. At the end of the day, if you don't send justice to their doorstep through Justice for All in the virtual court setting, then they are going to be there. They can't come back to the court, and the court will have to be taken to them. So we want to acknowledge our funders, the government of Ghana, Open Society Foundation, JIZ, and for the cooperation we have received from the Ghanaian media in projecting this agenda to give relief to those who have been sent on remand or pre-trial for a very long time in their lives. So to spend 6 months, 8 years on remand, it's not something good to deal with. And as an organization, we are available to partner any other NGO in other countries, just like we did with the TPP from Kenya, to be able to replicate something similar in their setup in Kenya, and it's really helping. So we want to wish everybody well, and thank you for the Paris Peace Forum giving us such an opportunity to pitch our project, to be able to continue the work and share with other countries, to take some best practices, also coming from Africa, to push the agenda forward for all. We are so grateful. These are our contacts, and you can go to the Paris Peace Forum, the chat in and chat us. Thank you.